welcome to episode number 34 of Talk with Anand. I am your host, Anand here. For episode number 34, we are talking about all about Flames hockey. This is going to be a short episode because our special guest has given us a short window to talk while he's on his lunch break at work. I want to now introduce James Johnson. You may know him as JJ Scoops on Twitter and many other nicknames which I may not know of. So, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us. It's happy Wednesday we are.
Yeah, thank you for the invite. This is a nice opportunity to kind of break up the workday. So I'm excited to chat with you, and it's awesome to see your growth on this platform and other platforms. And yeah, excited to kind of chat with you on this Wednesday.
All right. Yeah. Thanks for joining us on few guests already popping up here and there. We'll get to their questions and conversations as much we can. James, I'll just quickly check with you how much time do you have on with us, just so I can quickly frame my questions and all that.
Let's say about 25 minutes, if that
Okay.
works.
Yeah, 25 minutes more than enough. All right, sounds good. So, James, let's talk about the post trade deadline season. The Flames trade deadline season. They won one against Tampa Bay Lightning in a good fashion, 6-3, and then they directly dropped the ball the next two or three. So, what are your thoughts into already the past trade deadline season? What have you liked and haven't you liked? Let's talk about that first.
Yeah, I would say this was kind of expected these last three games against Florida, Carolina, and Colorado. These are kind of your marquee teams, they're top of the league teams. So it's pretty expected that the Flames would kind of lay an egg or not be as good against those teams. And when you sell off Tanev, Hannafin, all like a your top defense pairing, you already got rid of Elias Lindholm earlier. Like it's kind of expected that the team would take a step back. So I don't think it's something that I'm too concerned about, to be honest. Like I kind of knew that the Flames weren't going to make the playoffs for months. It was kind of a long shot. So it's unfortunate. You always want your team to make the playoffs, but that's kind of the reality we're in, where they've kind of entered into this rebuild or retool phase, and I think that's what's needed. So it's kind of short-term pain for long-term gain. Yeah.
Did we lose connection?
I think I lost you for a little bit, but I can hear you now.
Okay, I had to reboot. Let's try that again. So, if you don't mind, where starting, I missed a bit of what you were saying. So, if you could just rephrase what you were saying earlier.
Sure, yeah. So I would say these last three games were kind of what we expected, right? You're facing kind of three of the top teams or marquee teams in the league, and the Flames have entered into their rebuild or retool phase, and they've kind of sold off some assets here. Like when you lose a Chris Tanev and a Noah Hannafin, who have been your best defense pairing all year, it's gonna hurt you. And the Flames have allowed 18 goals in their last three games, which is extremely high, and it's unfortunate. You never want to see your team lose, but that's kind of the situation we're in. And when you're in a rebuild or reset phase, it's kind of short term pain for hopefully long term gain. So it's kind of just get excited about some of the young players and some new faces and go from there. Looks like we might be facing a few more technical difficulties here, so I'll just keep you guys entertained, I guess. I don't know. Do we want to talk about the Colorado game yesterday and the Flames getting swamped again, 6-2? That was definitely not an ideal game, but looks like Anand is back.
I'm gonna. Can you hear me, James?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I'm gonna do this via my phone here. Looks like my laptop is having some connection issues, so I'll keep monitoring the chat on my laptop, and I'll talk via here on mobile. So yeah, you were going to segue into the Colorado game, so let's jump right into head into the Colorado game. Yeah, your thoughts on the Colorado game yesterday?
Yeah, I would say a very surprising first period. Dan Vladar was basically incredible. I think Colorado generated more than 2 expected goals, and Calgary generated about 0.13 or something like that. So the first period was very surprising, and the fact that Calgary was leading was almost incredible. Like, shouldn't have even been close. And then wheels kind of fell off. Colorado is one of those kind of teams that others should look up to, and they just kind of took over the game, right? And when you're going with 11-7 like the Flames did yesterday, you see all kinds of different pairings in both the forwards and defense. You have Nikita Ohachuk, if that's how you say his name, newly on the defense. So another guy like Daniil Miramanov, who's learning the system and brand new to Calgary Flames hockey. So it was just kind of I guess, a little bit of a mess, if you want to call it that. And it's unfortunate, but again, it's kind of what I expected when you're facing a team as good as Colorado, and when you have a team that like Calgary that's in a bit of a reset mode. And yeah, it's basically what I expected.
Yeah, like have you phrased a great start from the first period. We got goals from Daniel Marimano, who looked great. We got a goal from Walker Doher as well. That was surprising. And then it got tougher as the period went on, almost like 5 unanswered goals in the second period. So, yeah, difficult game, difficult past couple of stretches. So let's talk into more about the trade aspect of things. How would you rate Craig Conroy's job performance as GM overall? And yeah, just want to confirm with Mackenzie as well. Yes, we are having trouble with said Wi-Fi. That's why I am on my phone. So I'll segue to you, James. Now, what have you thought of Craig Conroy's job as a general manager so far?
Yeah, I would say, like, if I was to give him kind of a rating on like the A to F scale, I would say he'd probably be somewhere around a B plus to an A minus. Like, I would not have expected that this Flames team would have sold off 5 pending unrestricted free agents and kind of entered this retool mode. And that's something I think this team desperately needed for years. So whether, like, he was dealt a very difficult hand when you have so many guys that don't want to sign here, and for various reasons with trade protection or wanting to sign here or Tampa or Vegas, you have kind of a limited market. So I think he did quite well in the returns he got. Maybe I know people think the Hannafin return's a little light. I could probably agree with that. I think the Tanev return, I don't know if you maybe could have held on for another week and seen if you could have gotten a first round pick, but I do like the second round pick, and the Flames do like the prospect in Grushnikov, so we'll have to see. I think the Lindholm trade, he knocked that one out of the park. You got a first round pick, a pretty good player in need of a change of scenery in Kuzmenko. You got a very good prospect that I like a lot in Brushkevitz, if that's how you say his name. And then you got another couple lower tier assets as well thrown in there. So I think obviously if he could have sold a few more assets, like Jacob Markstrom, but I think if you come at it from the position of, it sounds like people above Conroy wanted to keep Markstrom, so there's really nothing Conroy could have done there. I think he basically did as good of a job as he could have done in his first year, given the kind of hand that was dealt to him.
Uh, Yeah, I think you nailed it perfectly with those points. As for the Lindholm trade, we were looking for what you call a great return, and Kuzmenko needing of a change. We also hold on, so many technical difficulties this afternoon. Bear with me, James. Sorry.
No problem.
Usually the Wi-Fi is yeah, so basically we were saying Kuzmenko, Brushevich, I think, yeah, you pronounced that correctly. And then Nikita, we saw a bit of luck yesterday against the Colorado Avalanche, but it was a last minute call up that he got. He wasn't even actually planned to play. It's because Andrew Manjipani and Kuzmenko was out with illness. Or I think Kuzmenko was out with an upper body injury and Andrew Manjapane out with the flu. All right, let's talk about a few more things before we wrap this up. Just bearing technical difficulties and the timing situation. My first question for you: who would you recognize as an MVP this season so far? Who have you liked playing for the Flames so far? One candidate, maybe two, if you have, you can give an honorable mention. But we like to credit good work. So, who would you say is one of the best
I would
MVP right now?
say for the entire season as a whole, I think Jacob Markstrom has been kind of the sole reason that this team isn't bottom five in the league. I think when you look at goals saved above expected, or basically just watch any game, he's pretty much the only reason that the Flames are in half of the games, right? So he's been truly remarkable, and it's pretty crazy to go from last season to this season where it's been a complete flip flop. So credit to him for kind of turning things around. I would say Mackenzie Weegar has also been. I don't know if you would classify him as. I think Markstrom would be your like MVP, but I think Weegar has also been just really good on the back end and contributing with 15 goals or whatever he has this season. I think you couldn't ask for more from Weegar, and now him and Anderson are going to have a lot of tough minutes to play with Hannafin and Tanev gone, and you're going to have to rely on those guys quite a bit. So, yeah, I would say probably Markstrom would be your first guy, and then Weegar would kind of be your second guy.
Yeah, Marsham and Uyghur definitely. Marsham puts when we need it. And then we can see Uyghur, we have seen the offensive spikes from him and how he stands as a leader. And even when he comes out on the media as well, he speaks the right things. So definitely, you're two great players. My another question, so kind of opposite to this one, is which player do you think can improve his gameplay on the ice? One player that you had confidence from him start of the season and kind of has dropped the ball, and who you can think can put an effort on the ice.
Yeah, I would say kind of the one that stands out for me is Rasmus Anderson. I think kind of over the past 3 or 4 years, he's kind of taken a step every year, and he's looked kind of like this kind of first pair defenseman. And this year, I don't know if I've seen it as much, and maybe it's just kind of all the guys he's seen go out the door and friendships that have left the team, or who knows. But I don't think he's been maybe as effective as he's been in previous seasons. And unfortunately for him and Uyghur, like I mentioned, they're going to have to pick up a lot more of the load here now in the last 17 games or whatever. So I would say Anderson would kind of be that guy for me, where maybe I expected a little bit more and maybe it hasn't been there this year, but I still fully believe that he's capable of being that kind of first pairing defenseman. So I wouldn't say it like I'm concerned going into the future seasons, but I don't think he's been maybe at the top of his game this year, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And one final bigger picture question and point for you before we wrap this up. We are slowly hitting the 25-minute mark. But playoffs of the Flame season are slowly dwindling down. We are 10 points away from a wildcard spot. What would you give an advice or even a point for Flames fans to consider down the road? Do they look for rebuilding? Look, they not I don't think they even tend to purposely tank or anything, but do they kind of look to get those higher picks, or do they kind of just play it along, help these youth develop and win some games in these random stretches, or do they bottom out fully, let the tank roll on and get those draft picks? What kind of side are you on, and just a perspective for a Flames
I would say like
fan?
from a fan's perspective, I think you're kind of looking at the future, whether that be Martin Pospisil, Connor Zari, and then kind of looking towards the new faces too, and seeing what they can kind of add to the lineup. I think even guys like Daniil Miramonov, who is already 26, so maybe he's not considered a prospect, but I think there's still a little bit of ceiling there for him to reach. So I think it's just kind of accepting the fact that they're not going to be a playoff team, and just kind of whether that be you're not going to ask the players to tank, and I don't think a tank is truly in the cards anymore or ever was in the cards. So I don't really think many are actively rooting against the team to lose games. Like I don't think anybody's watching the game yesterday and cheering on Colorado when they score. I don't think you can be. I don't really think you can be a fan if you're actively rooting against the Flames. But I think at the same time, I don't really think you can be too upset with losses, if that makes sense. Like there is a bigger picture, and a higher draft pick does give you better chances at getting an NHL player in future years. So it's kind of not rooting for losses, but being okay with losses, I guess, if that makes sense. And it kind of sucks for the veterans on the team that have signed here long term and want to win and want to make the playoffs. But unfortunately, that's not the circumstance, and you kind of have to look to the future and look to younger players. And yeah, that's kind of how you got to treat the last 17 games, in my opinion.
Yeah, well said, James. That looks like we have seen the whole season wrap up. Let's quickly hit the audience line quickly. Let's see if there are any questions or thoughts from the audience perspective, and then we can end the show off. We have Kuzmenkovic saying, um, hold on, give me 1 second. Let's start from the beginning actually. So he says, Anand, I love to hope on the show someday. I'm a 960 and season ticket regular. Sure, Kuzmankovic, just send me a quick DM. You should know my handle already at CJY underscore Anand. Reach out. I'll be happy to have you on the show. And next point says two legends in the game. Thank you, Kuzmankovic. We appreciate your kind words. And thanks for joining us and listening. We appreciate that. Um, and then, not sure if we can say the Flames played that bad over this stretch. They just couldn't keep up. Yeah, I would say so. I There are a few veteran players who are trying, but at the same time, there are new circumstances, new players that have joined the lineup, not being able to perform effectively. Your thoughts on that, James?
I'd say that's a good point to bring up. Like, I don't think the Flames played bad against Florida. I actually think they were the better team for long stretches, but when you have these kind of playoff teams with high talent and elite talent, I guess it's they just come at you in waves, and I think Florida did a great job in that game of just coming at the Flames wave after wave with forechecks and kind of forcing turnovers. And yeah, so I guess I would agree with that, and the Flames didn't necessarily play bad against Florida. It's just kind of these elite teams, you have to, even if you put your 110% effort, you might still not win. And that's just kind of the situation they find themselves in.
All right, and then we have got Grushnikov is basically the tan of light right now. So hopefully he can grow into that as he develops. Yeah, I think I've heard bit of Grushnikov already. That he's one of the defensive type defensemen. He stays in towards the back of the net, back at home, and then he defends and block shots as well. So that's gonna be the key point there. And then we've got Mushroom for MVP, Kadri, most productive player, Pospisil and Zari, biggest spark plugs. Oh,
Yep.
yeah, one question before we wrap up the show regarding Pospisil. I know Pospisil got a three game suspension for a nasty hit. Then yesterday he ended up very early in the game for a tripping call. So, what is your advice on Pospisil? Do you like the energy he's showing, but he should maybe remain a bit disciplined and not get any more of these suspension calls? Or what have you seen from Pospisil? Let's end up with that one question.
Sure. Yeah. I think Pospisil, I love the energy he brings and everything he's brought to the Flames lineup that they've kind of lacked since Matthew Kachuk got traded. Like, a guy that can get under the skin of the opponent and kind of be a pest and get in the greasy areas, stuff like that. So what he brings to the lineup is what the Flames definitely lack. So it's been awesome to see. But at the same time, with his concussion history, if he continues kind of maybe playing the way he did against Seattle, he's going to have to fight. And that's not something he wants to do with his concussion history. So it's kind of a thing, he's still in his first year in the NHL. It's going to be a bit of a learning curve and seeing kind of what gets called and what doesn't get called and how he can play on the edge without kind of going over the edge, if that makes sense. So, yeah, been a very welcomed addition to the Flames lineup and something they've definitely lacked for last year and the beginning of this year, but it'll definitely be something he'll have to learn to kind of reel in if he wants to be kind of an effective player, which I think he will be for many years.
All right, perfectly rounded up. All right, James, I'll give you this quick opportunity to, as I discussed earlier, to sell yourself or promote yourself out there for fans, those who are watching. Where can they find you and what do you do, and just a bit about yourself before we wrap up the show.
Sure, yeah. So you can find me on Twitter, now X, and Instagram at James Johnson YYC. And I also do some writing for the Win Column, which is at Win Column CGY on X. And yeah, at the wincolumn.ca, we have lots of good articles every day about kind of some more deep dive things as well as just some day to day stuff. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
All right, thanks so much, James, once again joining me out of your busy day. Apologies for all the technical difficulties we had earlier in the show. Thank you so much. I hope you have a great day, and we hope to have you back on a future show with better technical aspects. And yeah, have a great afternoon. Enjoy the warm weather in Calgary, and have a great weekend as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for inviting me to come on, and it's awesome to see your kind of your growth in the Calgary market, and you're becoming quite the name around here. So that's awesome to see, and yeah, have a great rest of your day as well.
Thank you so much, James.